In this video, we're going to go over Canvas modules. We're going to learn what modules are, how to create modules, and then we're going to learn how to add content to our modules. Now, simply put, modules are a way to organize your content. You can organize by topics. You can also organize by sections or weeks, depending on how your class is designed. First, let's look at some examples of some already established modules. For something familiar to you, I'm here in the instructor orientation, and we have these set up in what I would consider topics modules. Now, while we may have them numbered by section, you can pick and choose which topic you want to come and learn about. For instance, if you want to learn about announcements, we have a basics page for announcements, a link to learn more about them, and then a discussion board dedicated to announcements themselves. And the rest of the orientation is set up in this way, allowing you to decide which topic you want to focus on. Another benefit of modules is when you enter an activity or element of a module, if you go down to the bottom of each section, you're able to go through the modules in a sequential order. Now, you can leave this as optional, but as you'll see shortly, there's also a setting that the students must go through each element sequentially. And when you're done with the one module, it will lead you to the next one as long as that one is open and available. Here's another example of how you can set up modules. In this case, the instructor has made a course resources module that stays at the top. This will include things that she feels are more relevant to the entire semester. And then the rest of the modules are set up in weeks, and they're even set up to release at a certain time and day, which we'll learn how to do shortly. And this also gives a better example of all the things that you can put inside of a module. You can put these text headers, which can help you organize the individual content within inside of a module, so that this instructor has discussions, assignments, and quizzes. Now, the advantage to setting up your courses in this way, especially if you have a lot of items to go with one week, you could set up all these discussions and all these assignments, but that would require the student to go into assignments and into discussions to find those particular things. Modules allows you to group all your content together in different types of content for presentation without making the student go and look for those individual items. Now that you have a good idea of what modules are and how they can be used, let's learn how to create one. So I'm here in just a blank course shell, similar to what yours should look like. And to get to modules, I'm just going to go over here to the left-hand navigation. And it has some other information here on the front page since we haven't created one. If you need any kind of refresher, I'm going to go ahead and dive in and just do create a module. I'm just going to give it a little short name. Now, as I mentioned, you can lock a module to a given day. You can choose any day. Maybe you want to choose the date that you meet for class or right after your class meets. So you can choose the day. You can also set a specific time. If you don't choose a specific time, it'll default to 12 a.m. So in this case, the module would open on the 24th at 12 a.m. or Monday night at 12 a.m. depending on how you look at it. I'm just going to click Done. Now, this is the setting I mentioned that would require students to go through the module in a sequential order. This would keep them from jumping around or jumping ahead if you felt that it was necessary for them to go through one item at a time in a particular order. I'm going to leave that one off for now and just go ahead and do Add Module. Now, when I go to create another module, you'll see there's some more options. I'm going to go ahead and enable this one, Session 2. And I'll just go ahead and leave this one unlocked. I can also add a prerequisite. For instance, if I want them to complete Module 1 or Session 1 before they're able to open Session 2, I could use this. This might be an alternative to locking it if you're basing your structure more on topic rather than weekly setup. I'm going to go ahead and add just one more. Just have a couple to play with. Okay, now we're ready to start adding some content to our modules. If you look at the right hand side of each module, you have a little gear, and we want to click on the gear and choose Add Content. One important thing to note about modules is they're basically just containers for all of your assets. With the exception of the text header, which we saw earlier, that are basically just labels that you can put inside of a module, and the external tool. All of these other things will exist outside of the modules as their own entity. If we create an assignment, it'll be under assignments, quizzes, files, and so on. Will all live outside, but we can get the basics of them started here. So I'm just going to go ahead and choose an assignment for this example. I don't have any assignments yet, so I'm going to choose New. I'm just going to go ahead and give the assignment a basic name. Now, if you've created an assignment yet, you know that there are a lot more options when you create an assignment. So I'm basically just creating the shell here. So I'm just going to go ahead and add assignment and then add item. Now I have this assignment shell. Now it's not really anything yet. It's blank. There's no instruction. Basically all I have here is the title. But I can go in here and edit and complete all the details of my assignment, put in the text, set up the points and due date, and so on. If you haven't set up assignments yet, please see our assignments video of the orientation. Okay, so I'm just going to go back to the modules here. And the same thing is going to hold true for the rest of these. If I want to do a discussion, I'm basically just going to be setting up the discussion shell here, and I'll fill in my details for what I want that discussion to look like after I've created this shell. Now, this isn't the only way to add content to your modules, but I would recommend doing it this way if you're keeping your modules locked at all. If you create something inside of this module, then it's automatically protected and hidden depending on this date. If we do it our other way, which would be, for instance, going to assignments, and as you can see, we see the assignment we created in the module. Maybe I want to go ahead and add an assignment here. I'll just leave that as assignment 2 and choose update. And now when I go back to my modules, I can go to add content for the module that I want to add it to, and there's the assignment 2 that I just created. Now this would be the other way you can add content. It would work the same way with quizzes or discussions or even files. And both of them are essentially a two-step process, depending on whatever is a better workflow for you. Again though, almost everything you create or use inside of a module does exist in another part of your course. So if I do decide that I don't want this assignment 2 and I delete it, that does not mean it's gone. So if you want that assignment completely gone from your course, you need to remember to go back either to assignments or discussions or quiz or what have you, and make sure you delete it there as well. Now, a couple other things about modules. This little setting allows you to collapse or expand the modules. You can also go and edit your module. And I also wanted to point out that now that we actually have some content, we have one additional settings in the module options, and that's to add a requirement of when this module is complete. So you can choose, we only have assignment 1 and discussion 1 right now, but if I wanted to set a requirement for assignment 1, you can do when the user views this item, contributes to the page, submits the assignment, or you can even designate a specific score to make this module complete. And then of course you can edit anything up in here for the title. If you decide you do want to either remove this date or change it at all. You can also indent. This might be something you want to use if you want to kind of outline what's there. For instance, if we add a text header, and then you have these arrows that you can move up and down. You can move content within the module. You can even move content between modules if you wanted to put that one there. And then you can even move modules around if you want to put them in a different order. And then lastly, you can always come into the gear again, and you can also delete a module if you decide that one is not necessary any longer. This covers the basics of modules. Thank you for watching.